Okay, so the Pisces video I just did is uploading, which is wonderful, so I can record my next video, which is about the new moon in Cancer, which occurred at 6:16 p.m. on June the 9th Pacific time. Whew. The moon rules the sign of Cancer, so the new moon is its own sign. So in many regards, this should be a wonderfully after the craziness that we have experienced of being in the middle of the eclipses, and the solar eclipse will continue to be felt for the second half of this year, but with a certain amount of intensity till August the 11th, with the August 10th, 11th date and the week before, week after being really important. And of course, we have a new moon in Leo around that time. So the eclipse new moon has not left us. There's work to be done, but it's nice finally, and I'm sure you'll all be feeling it shortly, to have a bit of an energy infusion with this new moon in Cancer, because we need it. I would not be surprised if heading into this new moon, July 7th, 8th night, you felt like you had sort of been hit by a truck finally, that feeling of, just there's murky business in the air, of course, with the eclipse, with the June 10th eclipse. And of course, the June 10th eclipse occurred in Gemini. So as the moon goes through Gemini, again, 28 days or so after the last new moon, to move into Cancer and to create the next new moon, we revisit some of those themes. And then because the moon is so small and losing its power, we ourselves feel depleted, which is why the days 48, 72 hours before a new moon can be so depressing. And then the new moon occurs, and we at the very least may feel like we've been put onto, especially with this new moon, a kind of an IV, an infusion of energy. The moon rules Cancer. Cancer is driven by emotional logic as a sign. And some of you may say that does not exist, but those of us who are over the age of 40 know that it very much does exist, and know that it's very much more powerful than mental logic, especially when we're dealing with people in relationships around us. And the sign of Cancer is very much attuned to, is very much a relationship-oriented sign, clear about what it wants to protect and nurture, and its logic and its way of doing things is driven by emotional logic, not mental logic. Our emotional lives, our intuitive lives may be given and offered a bit of a boost, and we may find ourselves with this new moon in Cancer, especially over the next 28 days, but especially over the next 2 weeks, emotionally more powerful and more driven to start to see certain things through. And I think we need that energy, because the Gemini new moon eclipse energy is not behind us or beyond us, and certain themes related to those eclipses are still very much in the air and need to be dealt with, if we were not able to deal with when it was advisable or ideal to deal with them. Even if it didn't make sense at the time to deal with it intellectually, the stars were telling a different story. And for many of us, we did the best we could, but we may not have gone far enough, so now we've got to do what we've got to do in order to make things work. This new moon is notable because in and of itself, it really doesn't make any aspects that I would find important or significant. Something is being made of the fact that it's sextile Uranus, but the sextile ended. It's a separating transit. And I think we give sextiles way too much importance in astrology, my humble opinion. But there are two transits that are occurring at the time of this new moon that are encoded into this new moon that I think are wonderful and necessary. The first that I've referred to that occurs on June the 13th is the fact that Venus and Mars conjunct in Leo. Now this is a transit that tends to get overblown in terms of its importance. Last time Venus and Mars were conjunct was in Virgo in August 2019, and you can go back to August 2019, and I think what you will likely see is that following maybe 3 or 4 months following August 2019, there may have been an infusion of something related to love, romance, relationships, sexuality, creativity, all those things that you would expect the male and the female planet when they come together to create. But we get Venus and Mars conjunctions enough that they aren't necessarily groundbreaking. They can offer us a gift. They offer us vitality. And part of the reason why they're so welcome this year is because just after Mars opposed Pluto, and then Saturn, and Venus opposed Pluto, and then Saturn, Mars opposed Saturn on July the 1st, Venus on July the 6th, not that long ago, and created this kind of fighting energy, protecting our vitality, protecting our independence, protecting our finances, protecting our relationships. You finally have the infusion of a new kind of energy, quite unfettered by some of these challenging transits. In about 18, 19 degrees of Leo, I think, 19 degrees of Leo, Venus conjunct Mars. Wonderful. It's separate from the other energies that have been playing out. That's the biggest thing about it that I want to convey. So if, as you head towards July the 13th, and especially past July the 13th, and you find something new enters your life that is either creatively vitalizing to your life force, vitalizing to your romance, vitalizing to your... Embrace it, enjoy it, because you have about a 2 to 4 month period where something can show up that infuses your life with a certain amount of joy. And of course, if you know which part of the chart Leo sits in, then there can be some correlation with that. Although there can be some correlation with that. That's wonderful. That's nice, as I said. And these energies are not related to, for once, after all these videos I have done, I can actually talk about a new set of energy that is unfettered by the kind of deception, delusion energy of Neptune, or the don't fall into the path of least resistance, heaviness of Saturn. This is a gift. Where your vitality, where the testosterone meets the estrogen, so to speak, where the male yang planet Mars meets up with the female receptive planet Venus, and they create the opportunity for something that you would attribute to these two planets, the male principle and the female principle. Okay. Second aspect that occurs around this time, which is approaching, is that Mercury in Cancer, and Mercury enters Cancer tomorrow, so this occurs, I think, a day or two after that, trines Jupiter in Pisces. I just did a video, this is why I did a video on the sign of Pisces. Before this new moon video. I'll put a link to it before it's going to get uploaded, before blah de blah de blah. De blah de blah. When planets were in the sign of Gemini, they squared Jupiter and Neptune. And all the videos I've done since my Mercury in Gemini video, where Mercury was retrograde and we had the eclipses and blah de blah de blah. This is my favorite phrase right now, blah de blah de blah. Talk about these squares to Neptune. When planets from Gemini enter Cancer, they send out support to the sign of Pisces. They trine Pisces, so they end up trining Jupiter, they end up trining Neptune. And they give us a certain amount of power and vitality to be able to tackle some of the issues that the squares throw up. As you head towards the end of Cancer, you end up opposing Pluto, and then you have the awkward opposition to Saturn, and eventually with Jupiter. So I would say enjoy, it's nice that we have the new moon in Cancer, and let's enjoy the Mercury trine Jupiter, and then later on in the month trining Neptune transits, because we may need this energy to give us a leg up around places where we find that we're in opposition with others around interests that we are looking to protect. How you do so with the Mercury-Jupiter trine over the next week, week and a half, especially the next week, will likely be through communication. Remember, I've said that Jupiter is coming into Pisces over the summer of this year and a lot of next year. The analogy I've been using is to bake a cake or to provide some healing or to create an auspicious new beginning in a part of the chart that has really taken a battering since 2015, 2016, and will continue to be under a certain amount of intense pressure till about 2025 and 2026. This Jupiter transit is necessary, it is welcome, it is finally bringing the gift to the table, but that gift needs to be protected. And you will protect it by using all these other transitory energies that also, you only build up muscles through resistance. You only acquire skills through having to master challenges. So you may find that you get the opportunity over the next week or so to attempt to or try to or actually manage to protect this gift that is being created, that is likely going to manifest next year, through the power of communications with Mercury. Written, spoken, contractual in some way. You pick up the phone. You may not necessarily engage with the parties directly involved. You may engage with experts who can help you. If you get the urge to, and you may have already started to feel this energy, emails and WhatsApp conversations and texts and that's not a piano, that's a laptop or a computer or a keyboard, are already active in this sphere and will continue to be active for the next week, week and a half. With Jupiter, it is about strengthening and supporting the gift. When we come to the Neptune transit later on, and I'm less concerned with that right now, it's going to be around protection from the loss or deception or the delusion or the self-delusion. It's nice to have encoded in a new moon a trine to Pisces. And as I said, if you want to really learn and understand more about these energies, you can look at my Pisces video that I just did, which I will put a link to at the end of this video. So the new moon in Cancer creates a lunation of less pressure. It's welcome after the eclipses. It is an infusion of energy, emotional energy, intuitive energy, and it's the emotional energy. Mars can give you a lot of firepower. It can give you, but sometimes you often need the emotional energy to see things through. It's the emotional and intuitive energy, but especially the emotional energy that you need in order to love and protect and nurture what is important to you. And this new moon in Cancer, given the fact that it encodes two really wonderful transits, how long has it been since I've been able to speak like this to you? A Venus-Mars conjunction that is separated from all the drama that Venus and Mars have had to go through their transits in Gemini and then Cancer and so far in Leo. It's a new separate gift. I think of this transit and I think of a rose. I think of a flower. That's a very Venus-Mars conjunction, seed bearing fruit, creatively, romantically, financially perhaps, artistically perhaps, career-wise. Welcome it. It may not likely be ground shaking. It'll still be important. It'll be an important development. I don't give the Venus-Mars conjunction so much importance that I sort of fall to pieces over it, but it's nice when it happens. Let's take it. Let's accept it. Look back to August, September, October, November of 2019, before the lockdown, and what happened then, to give you a sense of what could, it's not going to be the same thing, guys, but, it's in a different part of the chart. Also nice that it's happening. The next two full moons are going to be in Aquarius, and while this conjunction and the degree where this conjunction is being made is not really that important to those full moons, Leo and Aquarius are opposite each other. The full moons in Aquarius are going to happen because the sun is going to be in Leo, and the full moons in Aquarius, and there might be a correlation there. Maybe, maybe not. I'll revisit that when it comes to the full moon. I'm starting to realize that's going to be a different set of energies that I'm going to have to think about and relay to you. And then, of course, this Mercury trine Jupiter in Pisces that gives you now the verbal, written, communicative energy along with the emotional energy to start to protect whatever it is that you are sensing might be coming to you in the part of the chart where Pisces sits or wherever you had crisis in 2015-16, but still feels like it's a little bit under threat. So it's nice that we'll have the ability to start to put some protection around that. We're going to need it. And that theme of protecting that is very much one of the two primary themes of the second half of this year. That's all I have to say about this new moon for now. That's all I have to say about this new moon. It is a welcome infusion of power and energy. Lovely. We need it. Because the clouds haven't quite separated yet. And somewhere there might be a gift that comes to us of a very different and a new and a novel kind that can bring some joy in a completely separate way than what we've been dealing with and where the heaviness of the energy has been after July the 13th or so. Okay? I'm going to leave it at that. If you found this video useful, feel free to share it, like it, comment on it, subscribe to my YouTube channel, click on the bell icon to be notified whenever I do new videos, and my email address is going to be in the description box, so you can email me there to inquire about rates for readings if you would like one, or if you want me to make an easy-to-read version of your chart. My God, regular viewers of my channel must be so tired of me hearing this spiel. Easy-to-read version of your chart that tells you which planets are in which houses and which signs are in which houses and what all that stands for in relatively easy language. But you can use that email address to correspond with me. That's the best way to put it. All right, I will leave it at that. Happy new moon in Cancer, guys. Archetypally and emotionally, this is one of the most fortified new moons that you can get, just by virtue of the moon being in Cancer. Sometimes, depending on the transits that are afflicting or affecting a new moon or a full moon, it may not be that positive or challenging. This feels like, I'm not going to say this is a groundbreakingly or earth-shatteringly positive new moon, but it is positive enough that it is welcome, necessary, helpful, and relieving. Okay? I will talk to you all soon.